Okay, let's talk FPL for the year. Basically, I'm just going to go through every single team, almost every single team, and talk about which players I feel like are what's the most controversial things to talk about for each team, basically. Starting with Arsenal, I am going to talk about how Saliba is such a better option than Gabriel. Everyone's going for Gabriel, and I just don't understand why. I don't understand it. Gabriel's a good footballer, yeah. He's not better than Saliba. Saliba gets more points than him. Saliba just does more for the team. He gets more bonus points. I'm pretty sure he got more goals last year. Saliba's the man. Saliba's the man. If you can get an Arsenal defender, you want Saliba in your team. And if they're going to get Ray might even be the goalkeeper that you go for instead of having an Arsenal defender at all. And when it goes to the Martinelli versus Odegaard versus Saka debate, I know a lot of people have gone for two in the team, which is fair enough, go for it. Obviously, that's usually a Martinelli and then an Odegaard or a Saka. And obviously, Saka's a better option than Odegaard because Odegaard can sit deeper sometimes and you're expecting Havertz to get forward more this year. But I think Martinelli's the go-to man in that debate no matter what, really. I think Martinelli will do better than Saka this year. He just seems to be clean on the goals. I think Saka's a better footballer, but I think Martinelli's more likely to grab a goal than Saka is. Then on to talking about Villa. I think Pau Torres, if you're going to go for a Villa clean sheet, some people got Mings in the team, I'd say go for Torres. I think Torres will be the better option, and I just like him more. Like, no offence, but I just like Torres more. Then the debate is Buendia or Ramsey. I have gone with Buendia right now because over pre-season, Buendia seems to be running the show, and Ramsey's currently injured, so Buendia is the obvious choice, let's say. So, yeah, Buendia right now looks like he's going to be in my team. And then I need to say, don't sleep on Douglas Luiz, though. 5.5 mil. Yes, he is a defensive midfielder. Yes, he won't be getting involved in the attacks as much. However, he takes the set pieces. He gets assists from corners. He's scored from corners. Don't sleep on him. Don't sleep on him. He can haul points, and he does haul points like he did last year. He was Villa's highest scoring midfielder last year. I think Ramsey and Buendia will outscore him this year, maybe even Diaby too. But don't sleep on him. Watkins versus Wilson will be the biggest debate this year. Both 8 mil. Who will get more goals? We've got 38 games in the way to find out that one. But Watkins is one of them. 8 mil. He's going to get goals. You know he's going to get goals. How will rotation affect him though? Like, not rotation as much, more playing in Europe next year. How's that going to affect him? Because he's not really that many to rotate him with. Will he get more tired, is what I'm saying. Then into Bournemouth. I don't think, once again, like I said with Douglas Luiz, sorry. Bournemouth, I don't think Tavernier should be slept on. He had some massive point hauls last year. Got 16 points in 2 different game weeks. He got over 10 points in like 4 different game weeks. He's worth looking at. The only issue with him is he is right now injury prone, constantly injured, which isn't good for Bournemouth. But I feel like when he is fit, he does perform. He gets points on FPL, and that's definitely worth having a look at. And then Solanke. If any of you watched my TikTok video talking about the importance of players to their team and how their team perform in point-wise without them, because I saw someone talk about Kane to Spurs like that. Solanke is just as important to Bournemouth as Harry Kane is to Spurs and as Haaland is to City in terms of point difference that he gets them. He got 10 assists last year, and if he gets his goals in the net, my guy is going to get points. Onto Brighton. I feel like when you talk about Brighton defence, Estupiñán's the guy. If not Estupiñán, then Dunk's the man to go for, because even in net, I don't know who's going to start. Steele or Verbruggen. I think it's going to be Verbruggen, but it could still be Steele. And De Zerbi thinks he's Pep with his rotation that he does. Bearing in mind, when I talk about midfield, you got Mitoma, March and Gross. All just fall into some rotation that he just goes crazy sometimes. McAllister fell for it last year. Mitoma fell for it last year too. You just don't know who's going to be starting week in, week out for Brighton, especially with them being in Europe now. That rotation is going to be crazy. So a lot of people have gone for a cheaper option instead of the Mitoma or the Gross in Enciso. And I don't think that's safe. I don't think Enciso's ever played a full night in his life. Every time I see the guy on, he's either off at half-time or he's on at half-time. He's he's never plays a full nighter. So Enciso's not safe. I think if you go for them two, I think Buonanotte is a safer option than Enciso. And he's cheaper. However, what I've gone with quite a wild card in Simon Adingra. He did well over the... he's done all right. Sorry, I should say not well. He's done all right over pre-season. He's got a few goals in him. And I feel like he could be Brighton's wildcard this year, just as Mitoma was last year. No one knew who Mitoma was. And now I think Simon Adingra is going to do the same this year. We'll wait and see. I'll have to come back to this later and say I told you so, or oh, guess I'm wrong. On to Burnley. The only Burnley player that I've looked at is James Trafford. I'm not going to lie. I don't know much about Burnley. I know they played nice football last year, but the names are always mumbled up in my head. I don't know who's going to be performing week in, week out. Teller don't play for anymore, and I know he was doing really well from last year, so I just don't know where everything's going to come from right now. I think Trafford's a safe option when you talk about Burnley. Chelsea, there's a lot to talk about with Chelsea because they've got a new manager that can perform differently. I think Sanchez will be the starting goalkeeper. They just signed him for 25 mil, 50 mil cheaper than they signed Tepper for. But he's done well in the Prem. He's done all right in the Prem. It's still the issue of him passing, but he gets clean sheets, and Chelsea are going to get clean sheets. So it's definitely worth looking at in that regard. And then it's Chilwell versus James. If you don't want to risk it on who's going to be starting in goal, Chilwell versus James is the best defensive options you're going to get. Both at 5.5 mil. I think they're bargains. The reason the 5.5 mil is because they're injured so much. And we've told that over the past couple of seasons of them both hauling points and then they get injured. And then obviously they're injured. They can't get points when they're injured. But I think when you talk about Chilwell versus James, I think Chilwell hauls more points than James does. I just think James plays more consistently than Chilwell does. Mudryk at 6.5 mil could be this year's Rashford. I'm not saying he's going to be doing as well as Rashford did last year. I'm saying Rashford was 6.5 mil last year and everyone was looking at him going, oh, do I get him? And then he blew off. He just stormed off in December, January time. And I feel like Mudryk could do the same this year, especially under a new manager. You don't know what's going to happen. And then up front, I feel like Jackson's going to do really well. I watched Chelsea pre-season and he's been playing really nice football. So I expect him to do well in the Prem. Obviously, he's a new player to the Prem. We don't know how he's going to adapt to the Prem. That's a wait and see situation. But right now, I'm not waiting. I'm not seeing. I'm just going to, in my team, there you go. You do your thing, man. Then on to Palace. Eze's the real one I looked at. Yeah, you can get the clean sheets of Johnston or get Gerhi in or Mitchell in or Anderson in. But I feel like the only one that I really want to look at here is Eze. Because under Hodgson, he flew. He flew so high up. So I've got to look at Eze. 6.5 mil. It's a decent price for him. Can he continue from last year? I think he can. First game against Sheffield as well. That's not a bad first game to wait and see how he's going to do for the rest of the season. So yeah, Eze, class. Everton, the only real thing about picking onto Everton is McNeil. Everton did bad last year, but McNeil did really well under Dyche for FPL points. I'm not saying he did really well as a footballer. I'm saying he did really well for points-wise on FPL. And that's always what I'm looking at here. I'm talking about FPL. So, yeah. McNeil could be a little wild card. I don't have him right now. He's injured right now, so there's no point even looking at him. But, in the future, Fulham, Andreas Pereira is the main one that you want to look at because he got a lot of points last year for Fulham. No one really expected it from him. He's going up 1 mil. 5.5 mil, I feel like that's still good. If you're going to look at 6.5 mil midfielders who did worse than Andreas last year because you think they might do well, Andreas could do even better this year. You don't know. And Mitrovic could leave, meaning the door could be open for Raul Jimenez to be the starting striker. And if honest work Raul comes back, then it's not bad. You could look at 5.5 mil for a striker that scores your goals. Could be decent. On to Liverpool. Obviously, everyone's looking at Trent. Everyone and their nan's looking at Trent. But 8 mil, is it worth it? You know he can get assists. You know Liverpool are going to get clean sheets. But they still don't have a DM. I feel like that's a big issue right now. Especially if they wanted to play Trent in a midfield role. They need someone who's going to be solid in DM to protect Trent's defensive awareness, let's call it. Unawareness, more like. But yeah. Is that 8 mil really worth it right now? We'll have to wait and see. I don't have him right now because it's just a lot of money to spend on a midfielder that I don't really want to be looking at. No, sorry, a defender that's going to be playing midfield. Yeah, you get what I mean. You get what I mean. And then Salah. Salah's the GOAT of FPL. Let's face it. The guy gets points for fun. It's goals, assists, bonus points, just being involved in the play. He gets the extra point for getting the clean sheets that Liverpool get. Definitely worth a look at Salah. Definitely worth getting into everyone's team. If you're gonna double up on premiums, Salah's got to be that second double up surely, and you can fight about Haaland or Kane and the rest. But Salah's got to be that guy in your team, especially if you come into game week 1. He always goes in game week 1. I know it's a tough game, but he always goes in game week 1. The rest of Liverpool, I'm not really too sure on. I feel like Liverpool fall into that category like Brighton and City, of just too much rotation, and you don't know who's going to be starting week in, week out. So I'm not going to look at them. On to Luton. The only player I looked at for Luton is Kabore, and that's because he's 4 mil. A 4 mil defender is always nice to get in, and I feel like Kabore is going to be that guy this year, like I had with, I think it was Livermento last year at 4 mil. I feel like Kabore is going to be that guy this year. City, you know rotations are pain, so the only really guy that you need to look at is Haaland, and you know he's going to score goals, and that's all you need to know about Haaland, is the guy scores goals like it's like his air, breathing air, right? It's just natural to him. It's what he does. That's his job, as Roy Keane would call it. But don't sleep on Alvarez. Like, I feel like Alvarez started to play a lot more into the team. He started to play a bit behind Haaland, and he gets more involved in the play. Could be an interesting one to look at this year, especially at 6.5 mil for a striker that could be starting a lot of games this year, and he definitely gets goals because City get goals. So Alvarez could be a guy that is definitely worth looking at this year. On to United, and you know I'm a bit biased myself. I've always spoke about this. I am biased towards United. I'm a United fan. Obviously, I'm going to be biased towards United. But Onana will be a bonus point magnet this year. He just makes saves. He gets involved in the play. He's definitely worth looking at. Rashford and Bruno. Everyone's looking at them as, oh, do I get Rashford, do I get Bruno? Rashford, will he get the goals that he did last year? We'll wait and see. Hopefully he does. We've got Haaland now, though, so we don't have to only rely on Rashford for the goals. So he might get involved in the play a bit more elsewhere. Bruno should haul assists this year. He should. Honestly, I'm looking forward to this season, and I think Bruno's going to do really well. So if I had to pick between Bruno and Rashford, right now I'd go Bruno. A bit more of a risk, but I'd go with Bruno. More of a risk for FPL-wise. Bruno's the better footballer still. Garnacho at 5 mil, though, I feel like is a solid choice. 5 mil for a midfielder that will be starting a lot of games this year, developing more, and he gets goals. So 5 mil could be class for him. And then Højlund, we don't know too much about him, of how he's going to be doing in the Prem and how much he's going to be starting for us yet. We expect him to be starting almost every game, but he's injured right now, so we don't need to touch him right now. That's a wait and see situation. I've heard the rumours that he's going to be making his debut against Arsenal, so that's another 4 game weeks away. So we've got a while to think about Højlund. Don't need to touch him right now, but hopefully he hits the ground running. Newcastle, Pope and Trippier are just too expensive in my books, for a team that's going to go through a lot more games this year and a lot more hardship this year than they did last year. So I think if you go for the clean sheets at Newcastle, Botman's going to be that guy at 4.5 mil. I don't feel like there is too much of a better option. So yeah, Botman, go for it. Barnes at 6.5 mil. Could be a little, decent one. He got 13 goals last year, and he's coming into the team where he should be starting every game, really, for Newcastle. He's not this explosive winger that St. Maximin was, but he gets involved in the play. He gets goals, he gets assists, and he should be doing well for him. In my head, I thought Maddison was going to go to Newcastle and Barnes was going to go to Spurs, but did it in a weird way. So you go for it, guys. See what happens. Wilson versus Isaac. I've always talked about Wilson versus Watkins, but Wilson versus Isaac is a debate within itself of who's going to be starting the most in the Prem. Because who's going to be the Champions League striker and who's going to be the Premier League striker, and who's going to get affected by the most rotation? Will Wilson play more games? Wilson is older. I expect Isaac to get involved in the games much more this year, especially with not being as injured much this year, hopefully. Forest, Gibbs White and Awiona. I don't know if players it looks like. Gibbs White because he's the best player at Forest by a country mile. People was like, why did he spend 40 million this year? You understand why he spent 40 million on him? Because the guy's a baller, right? And Awiona got goals. Actually, 10 goals in the Prem. You just didn't even see it come in. Spurs, Porro is tempting to get into the team at 5 mil. It's whether Spurs are going to keep clean sheets. I don't think Spurs are going to do too well next year. And I've already spoke about this. I don't think Spurs are going to do too well. But if they do, Porro could be going straight into my team. Richarlison as a midfielder could be another decent option at 7 mil. It's whether he gets the goals this year. It's whether how he performs under Postecoglou. But the only real one that we're looking at with Spurs is Kane. Like, he gets goals. You know he gets goals. It's Harry Kane, for Christ's sake. So yeah, Kane's the only one that I'm really going to be looking at in that Spurs team. Then on to my final team, and that is West Ham, because I'm not going to speak about Wolves. I think Wolves are going to do awful, just like Sheffield United. That's why they speak about Sheffield United. West Ham, Fabianski versus Areola. I don't know who's going to be starting, so I'm not going to touch it. It's not worth touching because I don't know who's going to start. Bowen at 7 mil. You know he does well for West Ham. You know he should be on another good year, but it's whether West Ham can cope with losing the captain this year. Back-to-back years losing the captains. It ain't good. Bowen should be able to perform though. We'll wait and see. And then finally, the last player I'm talking about, Paqueta. But the news has come out today that he might be going to City, but 85 mil, I don't think he's going to go to City. I think last year he ended the season really well. If he continues it into this year, then West Ham are going to do well, and Paqueta's going to do well with him. What do you guys think?